There's a national conversation that's starting to occur, and it's starting to look a lot more reasonable, which it should have been for decades. And it has always been reasonable. It's just you have people that consider it that it's some kind of hysterical conversation. The idea that you could protect yourself from rape, assault, murder, or theft yourself, much less yourself with a firearm. But people are starting to realize that when you take that right away from people or you withhold it, you're actually making them victims, and you're actually the reason why they will be raped, assaulted, or murdered, or have their things taken. Over the last couple of weeks, you just see how much violence in general, and home invasions, and firearm-related violence there is going on, and criminality there's going on in Canada right now. It is unprecedented, and it exists for a number of reasons. But when you look at things like these home invasions, where you have a group of guys, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, armed with guns, booting people's doors in, and then going into the house, taking, the keys to the car or the property, or shoot the people, or whatever it is that they want to take from people that are living in that home, or walking up to somebody who's in their garage and shooting them in broad daylight, or in the case of the Saskatchewan tradesman, basically an attempted execution for his vehicle, his wallet, and his phone in Saskatchewan, rural Saskatchewan. Like, you're seeing the level of violence is just, it's through the roof. It's off the charts. And the interesting part of this is, well, of course, the government is completely helpless to stop it. So are the police, right? People are starting to tune in to the physical reality that the police, they are not in a position to protect you from anything, right? If someone wants to kill you, or shoot you, or take your things, or beat you, or invade your home, the police are completely and absolutely powerless to stop that. The only person that can stop it is you. And I don't want to be all cliche, but you are your own first responder. You're the only one that can do it. You're the only one that's stinking there, man. This is a physical reality that cannot be rationalized by the crazy people that we have in this national conversation. You cannot reason your way out of it. It's a physical reality. So the level of crimes, the intensity of these crimes, and the frequency is all increasing. And here's the interesting part. It is actually sparking a national conversation on self-defense using firearms. I was looking at an account on X called 𝐥𝐶𝐵uzz. And if you look at a lot of these posts, when it comes to these home invasions or what have you, carjackings, all the rest of that stuff, people are starting to say like, hey, we need to be able to protect ourselves because the government can't do it. This is what I'm saying, is it is from a fundamental human rights perspective, inherently unjust. It's inherently a sin for the government to tell you, no, you can't do this. We're going to hold you down using the resources that you're paying for, hold you down so that criminals can make you a victim. If you try to defend yourself and you hurt anybody, or you try to defend yourself with a firearm, or you imply that you have a firearm for purpose of defending yourself from rape, assault, or murder, or theft at all, then we're going to point the entire criminal justice, apparently, air quotes, system at you, and you will feel the full weight of the system on you. You do not have a right to defend yourself from the criminals that we let come out of jail and that we give light sentences to when they do the most horrific, horrendous, heinous crimes. And when they do crimes like killing a police officer, we'll let them out on bail only to watch them try to murder somebody else. And we'll let them out on bail again. This is what the government's been up to, and we're living in the results. So for me, the conversation about self-defense with or without firearms needs to be had, and we need those rights in Canada. We need those rights. Now, as the reasonable gun lobby, I've never said, oh, yeah, well, we hand handguns out to everybody and, let the chips fall where they may. We've never said that. What we're saying as an organization, and I'm saying as an individual, because I've always sort of said the same thing, is just give people a path. Not everybody will be able to do it, right? Because you also don't want people that are completely incompetent running around with handguns, because that does become a public safety hazard. Not a significant one, but problems can happen. But at least give people a path, so that if they're unable to do that, it's not the government holding them down while they get victimized by the government's pet criminals. It's the fact that they weren't able to meet the criteria in order to maintain public safety when it comes to that stuff. So it's their shortcoming, not the fact that you have an evil government trying to do it. I also have a real hard time thinking about what a badge of honor it is. What a thing that Canadian elites are just so proud that the government holds you down and lets victims have their way with you. If you remember Justin Trudeau on that Pod Save America is what it was called. He sat there and said, protecting yourself with a firearm in Canada is just not a right you have.
And there are debates, and we have a culture where the difference is guns can be used for hunting or for sport shooting in Canada, and there's lots of gun owners, and they're mostly law-respecting and law-abiding, but you can't use a gun for self-protection in Canada. That's not a right that you have in the Constitution or anywhere else. You try and buy a gun and say it's for self-protection. No, you don't get that. You get it for hunting, you can get it for sport shooting, you can take it to the range, no problem, as long as you go through our rigorous background checks. But there's a difference around the culture, and one of the things that we're seeing with the debate in the States is you get more and more of the American style, right to carry, self-defense arguments filtering up through the usual more right-wing communications channels.
Yeah.
Like somehow you should be proud of that, because when you say protect yourself with a firearm, you're talking about legal firearm owners. You're talking about good people protecting themselves. He's not talking about a criminal using a firearm to rob someone or kill somebody is not a right you have. Like, we already know that. You don't have that right. You're talking about law-abiding, good citizens. You don't have that. You don't have the right to protect yourself. So when criminals are busting, kicking your door in, and they have handguns, and you don't know what they want. Maybe they want just to take your life. We've already seen that. We've seen that in the last week here. You don't have a right to protect yourself. And we'll make sure that the laws are written as such, and the regulations around firearm ownership are written such that there's no way that you would even have the opportunity to use a firearm to save your life or the life of your spouse or your kids. So I'm very happy that people are starting to clue in. We're kind of getting shaken out of our fantasy that somehow we're morally superior because we don't let people save their own lives when they have the opportunity, because we want to feel morally superior to the United States, or we're just been browbeaten by anti-gun groups and irrational social justice groups that somehow it's objectionable, the idea that we would protect ourselves from rape, assault, or murder with a firearm. Somehow it makes us less virtuous. It's completely insane. And I, for one, am very happy that this conversation is starting to leak into the mainstream, and people are starting to think about it in more realistic terms than they have in the past. Anyway, it's an interesting dynamic that's happening. So we'll see where this goes from here. Really appreciate it if you're watching. Really appreciate it if you're sharing it. But if you possibly could just subscribe, would greatly appreciate that. Anyway, thanks so much, everyone, for watching and listening. Really appreciate all the support. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.